Hi guys, and welcome back to another How to Dribble like video, the series where we look at the top dribblers in the world and look at their different skill moves so that we can implement them into our game to improve our one-on-one dribbling. And today it's all about Eden Hazard. So before we get into the 5 skill moves, I just want to say a huge thank you to OneFootball for sponsoring this video. OneFootball is a free football app that you can download onto your smartphone so that you can stay up to date with your favorite team's latest news. You can also stay informed about world football news from around the world and all different leagues. And it's also free to download. So if this interests you, I'd recommend clicking the link in my description where you can download it for absolutely free onto your smart device. So big thanks to OneFootball for sponsoring this video. But without further ado, let's get into the first skill move. So unlike some of the players that we've already covered in this series, Ronaldinho, Cristiano Ronaldo, Neymar, who use a variety of tricks to get by the defender, Hazard actually uses a much more simple style of dribbling. He uses a quick change of direction followed by extreme acceleration. So these moves are going to be a lot more easier to execute than some of the previous videos, but you do want to have good acceleration to make these effective. So if you do want to improve that attribute, I would recommend clicking on the link that's on the screen right now. It's going to take you to a training session that I developed myself that really helps you develop that quick acceleration off the mark. It's going to make these moves a lot more effective. But they are very simple, so let's move into the first move. It's a very simple Cruyff Turn. He does it at top speed and it's very difficult for the defenders to anticipate, especially for someone like Eden Hazard who has a very strong shot. He uses this in a way to make it look like he's going to shoot, so the defender doesn't want to let this happen because this could result in a goal, so the defender usually overcommits. So if we shift that ball, so it's going to make it look like we're going to shoot, we draw that leg back and we sometimes have our arm out for balance as well. Now moving into step 2, so this is the area of the foot you want to be making contact with on the ball when you start to hook it behind that standing leg. So it's right on the inside here, it's a good wide surface so you can get a good clean connection. And you want to put that planting foot in front of the ball to create a gap behind that leg so that you can push that ball behind your standing foot. So plant the ball, reenacting all those movements, and then hooking the ball behind the standing leg using the inside of the foot. And the next step is having instant acceleration. So after we've performed this movement and we've hooked it behind the standing leg, you want to plant that foot down immediately so that you can accelerate and get away from that defender. Because especially at the higher levels you go, defenders recover very quickly. So after you've faked him out, that's when you want to accelerate away and make your next move. So moving into the next move that we can see Hazard performing a lot, it's the Stanley Matthews, which is essentially just transferring the ball from the inside of the foot to the outside so that we can change direction, making the defender thinking we're going one way and then accelerating in the other. Notice it's different from the outside elastico, which involves just the outside of the foot, where we're actually keeping in contact with the ball at all times. This is actually 2 movements that happen very quickly. So we're actually touching it with the inside of the foot and transferring it and then touching it with the outside of our foot to change direction. So let's break it down step by step. Now this is very important. So the first step is touching with the inside of the foot, but as we make that touch with the inside of our foot, we're actually doing a pivot, a hop to the side with our standing leg. So as we touch that ball, we hop to the side. This allows us to create space and allows us to make that outside movement. If we try and do it on the spot, chances are we're going to lose control of that ball or we're going to lose balance. So we want to transfer that foot as we make contact with the ball. So we touch it with the inside of the foot and our standing leg hops with it to the side. Step 2 is as we hop to the side, we make contact with the ball with the inside and then we get our foot around the ball and then touch it with the outside of the foot. So look at it again, touch with the inside to the outside of the foot. And finally, as we touch it with the outside of our foot, it needs to be a heavier touch. So this inside touch needs to be nice and soft so we can keep control of it. Then that second touch with the outside of the foot, that's where you push it off into the space and accelerate. The next move that we see Hazard performing quite a lot is the double outside cut. And this is effective because, especially in the modern game, if a winger cuts inside, it's a good chance that they might be getting the shot off. So the defender wants to anticipate that movement if a winger starts cutting inside. And what Hazard does, he does a quick touch with the outside of his left foot, then immediately with the outside of his right foot. So he's acting like he's going to go inside, so the defender starts to anticipate that movement, then he does another outside cut and then travels down the line and advances up the pitch for his team. So let's break this down step by step. The first touch with the outside of the left foot needs to be soft. So we're hooking that foot around the ball and then flicking it 90 degrees out towards the inside of the pitch. So first step, cutting it to the inside. So you want to hook that ball and rotate the foot. So you're rotating the ankle out to flick that ball to the inside. But again, the ball needs to be under control so it doesn't get away from you, so that you have the control to perform the second cut to accelerate down the line. So second step is, after we perform that first cut, is to pivot our foot and then cut with the outside of our right foot. So performing the exact same movement after a small pivot on our standing foot to cut the ball down the line again. And the area of the foot we want to be using with both cuts is right here, almost at the little toe. This is going to get a nice flicking action so that when we perform that second flick, we can accelerate immediately. And moving on into the third step, as we flick that ball, we want to set ourselves onto that foot that we just flicked with so that we can accelerate. So you want to make that cut, step onto that foot, and then immediately travel down the line. So moving on into the next move, and this is the simplest of the bunch. One of the most simple moves you could use in a game of football. However, it's probably also one of the most effective at the same time. And it's called the hip swivel. So all you're doing is having the ball at an angle, usually when you're on the wing, or you can use it in the center of the park as well, and you're angling your hips, almost acting like you're going to pass the ball. Because when you pass the ball, you want your hips facing your target to improve your accuracy. So what Hazard does, he gets the ball, he shifts it to the inside, turns his hips like he's going to play that pass, and then as he makes that foot action, he then hooks the ball back in the direction he was initially dribbling in. So he usually dribbles, tucks inside like this, and then he shifts his hips to make it look like he's going to play that pass, and then in the last second he then just hooks the ball down the line again. So moving on into the final move, and this is where Hazard's low center of gravity and explosive agility really comes into play. So typically when he uses this move, he has his back to the defender. So he has a look over his shoulder, he's seeing what the defender's doing. He's kind of got the ball to one side. So he's going to show like he's going to take the ball with his right foot. So that's the area that the defender usually tries to anticipate. And then what he does is he steps over that ball and then immediately hooks it back in the other direction and explodes away. So the first step of this move is stepping over that ball. This is going to shift the defender's body, make him off balance, trying to anticipate going in one direction, so that when you make your next move, it's going to take him a lot longer to reset and close you down again. So step one is just getting used to stepping over that ball. Step two is recovering as quick as possible so that we can accelerate in the opposite direction. So after we step over that ball, you immediately want to step onto your weak foot and then hook the ball with the outside of the foot. And then when you're hooking that ball, you want to pivot on that planting foot so that you can immediately get into an acceleration position, and then you can explode away. So those are the 5 Eden Hazard moves. As I said, a lot simpler than some of the previous videos we've done. So you should be able to get these ones after a little bit of practice. But make sure you do work on these, repeat them over and over again before trying them in a match so that you've perfected them and you can perform them confidently. But make sure you smash that like button if you did enjoy this video. Drop a comment as always, let me know who your favorite player is, and I'll try to get around to doing their skill moves as soon as possible. Hit that subscribe button if you're new around here, and I will see you guys in my next video.